So, good evening. Before we start, I just want to really deeply acknowledge the power of the session that we just finished previously. And you'll have to forgive me, it's going to take me a minute to transition in my head from listening to what Sony was talking about to the conversation we're having today. So, in full disclosure, I have zero comic timing skills, and there's something ironic about them asking like a feminist activist to interview a comic, and then they told me, make sure you're funny. So I think we'll just leave the humor like to Mallika. But I actually want to start off by asking you, Mallika, around this whole theme of breaking barriers. I think something that's absolutely glorious about your form of humor is that you break a lot of stereotypes by actually making stereotypes in the first place, right? So my start-off question to you is, there is clearly a subtext to this wit. What is it? And is that a big part of what makes your work you?
So when I create something, I don't actually think of the subtext while creating it. I let it reflect by itself because, if I force fit it or if I inject it, then it just becomes about that as opposed to the humor or the human aspect or whatever. And generally, what I try to show is like if I'm showing a stereotype, I'll make it entertaining but so outrageous that कि ऐसे नहीं होते लोग, but at the same time there are bits and pieces of those things that you can relate to that make you laugh. But that said, I don't do it with that intention that, oh, I'm going to change the world. No, I'm a little shit in a big world. I read that on a meme. That's what I am. So yeah.
I mean, I know when you say कि ऐसे लोग होते नहीं हैं, but I was watching the Sarojini Thakur video and thinking I have been several of those women in several situations, if I was truly honest with myself,
Yeah.
other than the Bombay girl making fun of the Delhi girl,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that,
I have
wouldn't
friends
work.
like
I've grown
that,
up
yeah.
here. So, in terms of your work and the fact that you've been, this sort of exploration has been fairly recent for you. When did you have like this is it moment? Like when you felt you were really connecting with the public audience on a brand of humor that you really wanted to do?
So I have a theater background. I've studied theater for 4 years, and before that I was doing theater in Delhi. And I would do a lot of the stuff that you see online. I would do that on stage as well. And so it was back then that I realized because there's no there's no thrilling validation that nothing compares to the validation you get on stage. Like, no amount of likes, views, shares, whatever, it doesn't match up to, when an audience is cheering, roaring, clapping. So that, it's instant feedback. So, see, I always knew that there was something there, but at the same time, I was very clear that I'm not going to leave everything and wait for something to happen to me. Ki, oh, आप तो अच्छा कर लेते हो, why don't you do something, मेरा time आएगा, I'm going to wait. I didn't do that. What I just did instead was, I took up a job. I wanted a schedule, I wanted to work, I needed money, I did all of that. And so I joined advertising. And there I worked as a copywriter, and it helped me so much. It helped me to be like a somewhat disciplined person. All of that has gone down the drain now. But it helped me to be able to create things in a certain time frame, to be able to understand that maybe you are completely different from the audience that you're catering to, and somewhere you have to find a middle ground between you and them. And you can't always just do what is your sensibility. Maybe sometimes दूसरों का भी सोचना पड़ता है. But yeah, so I did all of that, and then when I saw some promise in this, because this one video that I did, this Sarojini video, it did well. And I think when this did well, I was like, okay, ठीक है. I'm not such a goner when it comes to the internet. Maybe there is a place for me.
So that transition from the 9 to 5 job, when you
Yeah.
kind of decided to be a full-time entertainer, and that's something I really respect, as like a closet, somewhat secret musician who's always asking herself the question, ki kar sakti hu, ki nahi kar sakti hu.
Yeah.
What has that transition into being in full-time entertainment been like for you?
So I was very reluctant about it initially because I've taken my time. I mean, I've taken like 6 months to arrive at that decision. It's not like this video came out and I was like, "Chalo, chhod do, kaam waam ki zarurat nahi." I'm very cynical that way. I feel, even now I feel कि कल कोई और आ जाएगा. आज मेरे को, today they're talking about me, tomorrow they'll talk about somebody else. So you have to keep doing something to stay relevant, stay funny, stay fresh, whatever. So I was still working in advertising when this came out, and I recently quit, like in June. So what I did between that and June was I took my time. Like, I made sure that I have enough offers to consider. And I got, like, fortunately, I got a lot of offers. I did whatever little work I needed to do. I did that, and I did more videos online, and I saw that the feedback was good. And the most important thing that happened was I signed up with an artist management agency, and like one of the best, if I may say so. Like, they manage a lot of people who do what I do, OML. So when that happened, then because it's like another person is, putting their faith in you. So I was like, "ठीक है, I'm in safe hands, and somebody can manage the chaos in my life." And so I said, "Now, if I'm giving it a shot, I'll give it a proper shot. Like, I will move to Bombay. I won't stay here and try to do it, and send auditions on the phone and all. All of that was just getting too much." So then, yeah, basically, I took 6 months, and then I jumped into it. Bas.
So how has the transition in terms of shifting to Bombay? Like, this is not a what is it like to leave Delhi and go to
Yeah.
Bombay. That's like a, it's like a andar koot
Curry
ke keep
patta and
falling down
everything is
conversation.
what it's like, yeah.
In fact, I was reading an interview earlier of Mallika's, and I think somebody asked her, and a journalist asked her, "Mallika, what's your biggest concern about moving to Bombay?" To which her response was, "Mere baal." Given just the water here and the water there. So my first question actually is, how's the hair doing?
Oh, it's gone. It's finished. It's frizzy as hell. It's always standing, and at every shoot, the hair didi has a hell of a time कि मतलब extension लगाना पड़ेगा, ये करना पड़ेगा, वो करना पड़ेगा. But what the good thing is, I've stopped giving any kind of shit. Now, like, I just step out the way it is. अब ऐसे ही है, क्या कर सकते हैं?
And hair aside, and not taking away any, I mean, no disrespect to the hair didi at all there, but how has the industry that you've been working with changed in terms of the city change? And how is the Bombay comedy / humor industry treating you?
So there's no doubt that the industry there is way more professional, and like it's constantly churning work out. Things don't stop. मतलब बारिश होती है तो shooting नहीं रुकती है, या nobody says ये नहीं हो पाएगा. So obviously, like, moving there was a great decision in that sense, because everything is there, like they're able to do things. They get shit done, they won't put it off कि अच्छा करते हैं एक और coffee पे discuss and all. None of that happens. So that's been good. And the comedy industry has been treating me extremely well. They've been very welcoming and very nice and everything. And I've made a lot of friends, fortunately. And I mean, obviously being on the OML roster really helps doing that, because most of them are also on the same roster. But, one thing I've noticed is that I tend to turn down work for two major reasons. One of them being, A, if it doesn't pay me like what I deserve to be paid, what I think I deserve to be paid, and B, if it doesn't have something substantial enough for me. And by substantial, I don't mean screen time, I just mean significance in terms of the role or whatever it is. And so yeah, those are the two reasons I turn down things. And I've been told that, you need to work more on building relationships. I mean, and it comes across as an attitude problem. So there's a lot of that shitty mansplaining that happens when we do something like that, because, I mean, these two are very valid reasons for rejecting a part, They're not some personal wars that I'm picking. These are just things I'm looking out for myself. And I've noticed that nobody really calls boys out when they reject things for these reasons. But they're very quick to talk about a girl, ki isko ye hai, she's, I don't know, there's some kind of an unsaid expectation that you're more endearing if you're more earnest and cooperative. I mean, if that's the word I can use for it. So yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. But then I'm very used to like this idea that, you can't just be earnest and then be heard. You have to, sorry, but fight your way through things, and you have to get what you think you deserve. Like, you have to snatch it if you have to. It's okay. Yeah.
So with comedians who are female, I mean, there's always two aspects of the conversation that runs whether they like it or not, right? The first is their gender and how that sits. And the second is very much their participation in the profession itself. And a lot of your characters, whether you look at the ads that you do, whether you look at the Makeup Didi series, they pick up a lot of satire and humor, and it talks a lot about a culture of feminine beauty and how it's kind of practiced in Delhi. So I think also, given the theme of the conference today, what is really kind of the role, the driving role that gender plays in how you see your work and how you actually work in this industry in terms of your art, not just necessarily in terms of like how folks are treating you?
So what I try to maintain is, professionally, I try to stay away from this slotting that happens, that so and so is one of the best female comedians and this and that, because that's, what is that? There's like 10 of us in India. I don't know how many there are. why count someone as the best out of 10? Firstly, if you want to draw comparisons, there is 100, 200 comedians that are known in that internet circuit or stand-up circuit. Why can't you just count us with all of them? Like, are we not at par with them that you need to slot us into some other stupid category where there's just 10, 12 of us? I mean, we're proud of being women, but we're comedians. I mean, is there something special about being a like female comedian? No. I mean, what's funny is funny. Funny ka koi gender to nahi hota na. So I mean, it's just stupid, I feel. So that is one thing. And apart from that, the characters that you see in my videos, see, a lot of them just, what I, like my way of doing something is if it makes me laugh too, then I go with it. And what you see, like for example in Makeup Didi is, it's inspired by my days in advertising where we had like the most difficult FMCG clients ever. And any kind of client is difficult, wo to hame pata hi hai, but there's a special relationship, you know, that client and like the other person on the other side. And no matter what you do, like you could build the Taj Mahal and the person on the other side will never be satisfied. And that's what you see in these Makeup Didi videos, if we can play one of them, that there's this character who's getting this makeup done and she's never happy with what her Makeup Didi on the other side is doing for her. And she'll come up with the most idiotic things. She'll pull them out of various parts of her body and say, ki, matlab, this is not working and ye nahi chal raha hai, matlab. So I guess it came from two things. One is the whole idea of a client being demanding, and the other is that, you know, there's so much humor, no, that's made out of women always cribbing and women fussing over their looks and this and that. So I just took it to another level. I think that's what I did. And yeah, I feel what one thing I'm very conscious of in my videos is that even though of course we're deriving humor out of what there is, I do it with a sense of endearment. I don't do it with any malice that, oh, I'm looking down upon these people, look how I'm superior to them. No, that's never my intention. Like, insult comedy in that sense is not something I know how to do. If that's what comes across, like inadvertently, then I don't know. Yeah.
So I think this is actually a really good segue to cue the
Yeah.
two videos we have from the Makeup Didi series in case some of you haven't been following it.
नहीं दीदी अभी भी वो बिपाशा वाला लुक नहीं आया है थोड़ा इंटेंस करो स्मोकी आईज आई वांट इंटेंसिटी नहीं आ रहा मज़ा एकदम वो एंजल फेरी टाइप लुक आ रही है आई वांट लुक लाइक इंटेंस लाइक रोडी वाओ वाओ दीदी आप समझ नहीं रहे हो मुझे डांस करना है ना मैंने यार ना मिले ते मर जाऊँ सो एवरीवन हैज टू डाई व्हेन दे सी मी नहीं छोड़ो आप रहने दो आपको मेरे टाइप की स्मोकी आईज समझ ही नहीं आ रही हैं तो दिस इज नॉट अ स्मोकी आईज ओके दिस इज जस्ट व्हाटएवर आर यू गोना टीच मी अबाउट मेकअप
They just shut it midway. Anyway. क्या हुआ? Continue? Okay.
Okay.
So basically what happens is this woman, like, she just goes mad crying at the end of every video. And there's a series of these videos, you know, bases, different looks. Like every filter that's on my face is a look. Yeah.
Just from memory, there's one that I was watching on Instagram, which is basically a woman who has a strawberry transplanted on her face and who talks about how she wanted this berry-kissed look. And I remember distinctly like being, I think, in a space at some point in time in a shop or something where somebody was trying to explain to somebody at the opposite end of the counter that they wanted something that gave them a berry-kissed look. And I was looking at the strawberry and thinking, right, like this is what the other person's actually processing.
yeah.
Okay, I have a completely different question to ask you, Mallika, which is, women who are loud, women who are uncompromising, women who hold their opinions straight up, don't apologize for them, are usually women who are trouble for many, many, many people. So I guess my question is, do you see your work as political?
See, I don't yet. Because I don't know enough to make it that way.
About politics or being a woman or
About
humor,
politics. No, about being a woman, though I've got it covered. But politics, I don't know. Partly because of the way it's served to us on television. Yeah, it's very unpalatable, so I don't watch. And I mean, I can read, but maybe I'm just ignorant by choice. Anyway, so no, I don't know enough. So if I try to do something, either I know it very well, or I just, you know, I'll be all over the place. So I don't do it consciously. But yeah, there will be bits, you know, where I'll say something that might you know, refer to something that's going on, and that might reflect what I feel about it, but I don't like, no, political satire is not my thing, not yet at least, no.
So also as a woman, I mean, Mallika's work has often been sort of described as a breakout star. I appreciate the impact of that, but I'm not really sure what that means, but that's
What
a
is a
separate
breakout
conversation.
star?
I have no idea. I try. I Googled. There's no
Such word,
expression.
okay.
But as somebody whose work very often goes viral online, are you subject to the kind of online harassment, the kind of trolling that women who occupy the online space do? And if so, how do you deal with it?
So a lot of the trolling that comes my way is not about the content that I produce, it's about the way I look. You know, so a lot of people will be like, ये मोटी बड़ी cute है, या ये मोटी बड़ी ऐसी है, वैसी है, मोटी दीदी के expressions, this fatty is a cutie, you know, like they just, I don't know if it's a thappad or a compliment, but I'm like, चलो ठीक है, compliment ही होगा. But, so a lot of that happens, and then there was this one person on YouTube, I don't know कौन है, he doesn't even have a picture, but he goes on all my videos and writes, इस सफ़ेद हाथी को निकालो YouTube से. And I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to that. Like, we to laugh at all of this shit at home. Like, thank God we're irreverent, because if we weren't, we'd be scarred for life, you know. So that is one thing that happens. The other thing is, and I'm very, very opposed to that, but I can't help it, is that, you know, on Instagram, where I put most of my videos, people will tag their friends and be, like, if they don't like a particular video, they'll be like, I think her time is over. You know, I'm like, yaar, zyada nahi ho gaya. My time hasn't even started. You were so quick to declare that my time is over because you don't like one minute video where there's a grape on my face. Like, aren't you making a really big statement right now? Like, did you think of the impact it would have on me when I read it? No, you don't. Like, you don't know me. You don't know how I'd feel about it. And, or yeah, this one is better, that one is better. So what I generally do is I block them, because I don't want that kind of energy on my profile. If you think my time is over, F-O, please. I mean, you know, respectfully. And so I did that once. And when I blocked this person who said this shit, that person then messaged me on Snapchat. Hi, it was very immature of you to block me. Sincerely, someone who used to be a fan. I'm like, yeah, you're not a fan and I don't need you in my life if this is how you think, you know. This is ridiculous. Would I be friends with the person who spoke to me like that? No. Then why should I entertain you? You know, and I'm free to block you. It's okay. Like, you're free to, like, I might be a public figure, but I'm not a public toilet. So don't go shitting on me, you know. So yeah, that's what I do. That's how I deal with it. But luckily my work isn't very rixy in that sense. Ki I get those trolls, you know, like, you know, the kind that Tanmay and all have to deal with. That doesn't happen. But yeah, this is what happens. This is how I deal with it. Yeah. I think after a point I stopped reading.
I think that's kick-ass. Any one of your characters who you feel on your best or your worst days, you know, sort of you would truly like to embody or you would like to be like?
So on my worst day, there is this character called like Behuda Bibi. She's like, बहुत ही ना वो मीठी छुरी हैं, हंसते हंसते आपकी इंसल्ट कर देंगी वो, अच्छा कुछ ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं होता अच्छे से, ओके यू नो, ऐसे किसी को भी कुछ भी बोल देती हैं. So maybe her, if I'm in this like, so I like systems to work properly and, you know, professionally, and when they don't, then I get very like riled up. So maybe on a bad day I'm her. On a good day, I'm probably this woman, the West Delhi newlywed, who's like lingering nahi long. No, not this woman. I mean the woman who, maybe that woman, you know, she exudes a lot of joy. She's very self-satisfied. Na, अपने husband से बात करी, lingering नहीं, longry होता है, long, just like you. You know, so she's very happy. वो अपने मस्ती में है, उसे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता क्या हो रहा है. So maybe I'm like that on a good day. Yeah.
So one of the things I love about your work is that there's this sense of play, right? Like there's irreverence, there's humor, and in a certain sense, something that I really like is it's not insult comedy, but it's a space where there is diversity in women, and that diversity is completely celebrated.
Yeah.
Does working in humor give you more of a space to be yourself versus, say, for example, like when you're not doing what you do and you're just living life like the rest of us normal people?
So absolutely, I'm a very awkward person off stage, off screen. I'm not very social in that sense either. Like obviously I have my moments where I go crazy and all, but in general I'm not what you see like online in that sense. So for me it's very empowering, you know, it's almost like 3 shots of vodka. Like you switching on the camera is like that, or being on stage is like 10 shots of vodka.
That's very put together for 3 shots of vodka.
Arey, yeah. So So yeah, it's very empowering, but also what happens sometimes is that when people meet you in real life, they expect you to be on all the time. Jokes na yaar, tu to funny nahi hai real life. I'm like, yaar, please. Matlab, if your job is to, I don't know, make ball bearings, am I going to tell you to make one in front of me right now? Like, what is the matter with you? You know, calm down. So that's one downside that, you know, when you're funny, people think ki, pata nahi, chabi wali gudiya hoti hai na. Yeah, that's what they think.
No, I think you're as far away from the Chabi Wali Gudiya as like possible. I feel sorry for people who kind of think
Yeah.
that. Okay, the screen is flashing that we've got about 2 or 3 minutes left. So I'm going to ask you one question and then open out if there's anybody who has a question or wants to share a thought. You know, you've launched your YouTube channel. You're signed with Only Much Louder.
Yet to launch my YouTube.
Oh, sorry. Yet to launch. You've signed with OML. What would be your advice to young women who are thinking of stepping into the comedy scene in India today?
One thing would be, again, I mean, don't take the easy way out. Don't think कि मैं 10 लोगों में से best हो सकती हूँ. That's just far too easy and it's very limiting. It's a great disservice to yourself to think that, let me break out into this little scene. Don't do that. A. And B, watch a lot of stuff that's done abroad because like any other thing, like our movies, like our comedy, like our ads, everything is influenced by what you see abroad. So most of it, a lot of it rather. So always watch all kinds of comedy. Like har cheez dekho. Anything can make you laugh. Anything can inspire you. And yeah, more experiences because you know, this is what I realized when I was working. I was like, you know, it's so hard for us to just create something for different consumers when all we do is sit in like a little room in Gurgaon all day. Either we're sitting there or we're stuck in traffic. Where the hell does the inspiration come from? We can only watch so many movies, you know, or so many shows or whatever. So yeah, go out a little. You never know kab kaun kahan mil jaye, you know. Yeah.
That sounds very stalker-like. It's just
Yeah,
mildly like
I am a
concerning.
stalker, guys.
Okay.
I stalk. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm going to quickly check before I wrap up with Mallika if there's anybody who has a question or a comment. Like, brevity is the soul of wit, literally, so you'll have to be really short.
Any questions?
Yep, the lady right in the center. Hi.
Hi.
You know, I've been following you since your Dove Smash days when
Oh
you
God,
do it
wow.
used to do it with your dad and
Yeah.
your mom.
Yeah.
And there was one video where you kept on saying, Mama, Mama.
Yeah, the
can't-
Stewie Griffin video.
Yeah, so you know, how important do you think your parents' role have been in this gender empowerment, you know? Because we are all here because our parents supported her, but you did something breaking the stereotype. How important do you think that was?
I think maybe more than 100%. Because what happens is, I think I owe everything to my parents, like the way we were raised. Like, you know, we weren't even raised to think that we are boys. I won't say that my dad raised me like a boy. No, we just never thought, that was never a discussion in our house, which is why, you know, when people ask me to comment on gender issues or something like that, I feel that मुझे तो कोई problem है नहीं उस तरह से और होगी भी तो my voice will be heard, shared, retweeted, whatever. I'm not the one who needs to worry here. Like my cook at home right now, for example, her brother is a piece of shit, okay? He takes all her money, anything that she earns. He didn't give her sister like enough medication in time, so she lost her sister. Now their mother is suffering, and basically she's the sole breadwinner. That brother has produced some 5 kids. Okay, I'm like, she's the one who really needs our definition of feminism. Like she's the one who needs to be impacted by it, and she doesn't have that because of the structure that she's grown up in. So yeah, going back to that, everything that I have, everything that I derive my courage or my spirit or everything from has been given to me by my parents. It's huge. Yeah.
Which I think is not something to be underestimated.
Absolutely
in a country
not,
where
yeah.
entertainment is not always understood in families as a viable career option.
I mean, it obviously helped to have one parent who was a freelancer always.
Yeah.
Other parent was a doctor, so that was like a crazy combination. But I was also a really rebellious kid, so I did my thing. I did what I had to do. I mean, but no one ever stopped me in that sense. Only school was difficult because your math, science, tutor wale, you know, you get so this thing in those cages. But once I left school, I did my own thing, and no one stopped me.
My maths tutor memories are like how people are scared of clowns. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that level.
It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
kya ho raha hai? What language is this? Why does everyone get it? Why don't I get it? What the hell are they saying? Yeah.
Okay, I'm assuming that I actually do have to wrap up in time. So I'm just going to ask Mallika, just in terms of the time you spent in the conference today, the vibe, if you want to share with us one of your characters and maybe in character, comment a little bit on what your experience has been like. And we'll close out with that with a big thank you to all of you for not having gone home. Mallika was really worried. She was like, सब चले जाएंगे, आप और मैं खाली कुर्सी से बात करेंगे. But that's not happened and that's been fantastic.
काफ़ी अच्छा सेशन रहा है, मतलब बड़े डाइवर्स टाइप के लोग आए हैं. बस हर कोई मेरे जैसा इंटेलिजेंट तो था नहीं, बट एवरीबडी इज़ हेयर एंड इट्स वेरी क्यूट एंड काफ़ी क्यूट इवेंट रहा है. कैरवेन दीदी ने बहुत अच्छा इवेंट लगाया है. बस एक जायंट व्हील और कुल्फ़ी स्टैंड होता तो और ज़्यादा मज़े आ जाते, बट ठीक है, ये भी चलेगा. अपने को टाइम अप हो चुका है, क्या ही कर सकते हैं फिर.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me and staying back.